Hello guys, welcome to Developers Monk. In this particular video, we are going to discuss about web views in Android. Let's say you have an application or progressive web application or a web page, okay, and you have to convert that into Android because you need some native features of Android. So for that, first thing is that you have to recreate everything in Android, but that's really tiresome, right? So the second thing is you just create the parts in Android which are Android specific, and rest you just keep it as progressive web application or web page, whichever you had, as it is. Okay, so now what you could do is that you could actually bridge the difference between JavaScript and Android. So there will be a channel of communication between JavaScript and Android. Let me just open the notepad and we'll write what exactly this particular tutorial is going to be helpful for. The first thing is that it will be helpful because after this you will be able to create WebView apps. So just I'm going to point out that Amazon is a WebView app, okay, for example. And the second thing is that with this you will be able to have a interface between JavaScript and your Android application. So basically these are our use cases. I'll just write here, use cases. Okay, other than that, the second thing is that what we are going to do in this tutorial. So for that, let's just tutorial. The first thing which we will do in this is we will try to transfer text between JavaScript and Android. And once we are done with this, then we'll try to transfer an image, transferring an image, okay, between again JavaScript and Android. And when we are done with this, it's quite evident that you'll be able to do other things as well. I'll also show you how to call intents and stuff from JavaScript, and basically I'll show you how to do everything which you could do in Android native using this bridge. And as I already said, for this we are going to use WebView. Okay, so with this, let's just get started. And I've already set up an Android application, which is a very basic application currently. It's just template application. I haven't done anything in this. It's just a simple layout which I've created till now. Okay, a web view, some text views and edit text, and a send button. Because first thing is that we are going to transfer text to and from JavaScript. Okay, so I'll just run this application and show you. And also I have created a test.html file, a very basic file basically. I'll just show you. This is what it is. So when we send data from Android, it's going to be shown here in this paragraph. And when we want to send data from JavaScript to Android, just enter the data here and click on send. Obviously not in Chrome, in our Android application. Okay, so this is what the application is. This is the blank space here right now. This is a web view. Currently we are not rendering anything in it. We'll do that shortly. And then we have same thing, data from inside JavaScript appears here. So anything sent from JavaScript to Android will appear here. And then the next section is that if we want to send any data to JavaScript, just enter it here and click on the send button. So it's quite straightforward, right? So now without further ado, let's just get started with the coding part. So the first thing is that we'll try to load this what we say test.html file into this our web view. So for that, let me create a function which is I'll name it initialize web view. Okay. So now we got this function. Now inside this function, we are going to get an input stream. Okay, let's just try and catch here. Yeah. Now we are going to get an input stream. Get resources dot open raw resource r dot raw dot test. Yeah. Now as this is a byte buffer, so we'll create byte array in output buffer. Okay, just output buffer is new, byte array output stream. Okay, so now basically what I'm trying to do is this byte array output stream object gives us an option. I'll show you to get an array of bytes. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to read things from this input stream and write it into our byte array output stream till everything is right. So for that, what I'm going to do is while input stream dot available is greater than 0, output stream dot write input stream dot read. Okay, so once this is done, everything will be inside this particular object OV. And now what everything I have to do is just a string data. Sorry, data is new string, and inside this we have to pass array of bytes. So for that, I'm just going to do ob.to byte array. And here we got our whole data, and now it's quite straightforward. What we are going to do is webview dot load data. Okay, and we are going to pass the string. The type is text HTML, and encoding is UTF-8. Sorry, yeah, UTF-8. Okay, so we missed the comma. So with this done, now when we load this particular application, it's going to get the page rendered, this test.html, which is like this. Okay, so here is our page. We got it rendered, right? Now the next thing is that by default WebView has disabled JavaScript, so we have to enable JavaScript. Okay, so for that, webview.get settings.set JavaScript enabled as true. By default, it is disabled because of security issues, but as we know what exactly we are doing, we could enable that. Okay, now the thing is that WebView provides us with a method dot add JavaScript interface. So basically what this method does is that we could create, basically we could add an interface. It could be a class or an interface. Okay, and we could name it. So let me just show you. So let's say we created an interface, Android Bridge. Okay, and inside this, let's annotate the method which we are going to create with JavaScript interface, void, public void, send data to Android. Okay, and string str. Okay, so we got the simple interface. Only thing is that this particular public method which I declared here is JavaScript interface annotated. So now I'm going to create a new instance of this particular interface here, Android Bridge. Okay, I got the interface, and I'm going to name this. I'll name it Android Bridge itself, but it is not necessary that you name it by the class or interface name only. You could name it anything. Okay, we missed one thing. We have to annotate it here itself. Okay, so now it's done. So any data which is passed from JavaScript to Android will be coming here through this function basically. So what will happen is this Android Bridge name which we provided, no, this is basically going to be now a global variable across all your JavaScript files in any of your application or progressive web application or website which you are going to open in this web view. Okay, so let's see how it works. So I'm going to go into test.html. I'll create a function here. I'm going to name this function send to Android. Won't take any argument as of now. Okay. Now inside this, what I want is I want to call this particular objects send data to Android function. Okay, so that's quite straightforward. I'll just enter that Android bridge dot what was this function? Send data to Android, right? Yeah, send data to Android, and I have to pass in the data which I want to send. So that particular data is going to be the value of this particular input, which is whose ID is text to Android. So I'm going to write document dot get element by ID, pass in the ID dot value. Okay, so now whenever this function is called, this particular function Android bridge dot send data to Android is going to be called with the value of text to Android input. Okay, so it's quite straightforward that when I press send button, this particular data which I'm going to enter in this is going to be transferred to Android. Now what we have to do with this data which is transferred to Android, we have to set this to, I'll show you, this particular label whose name is TV data from JS. Okay, TV from JS. So I'm going to do TV from JS.set text as str. Okay, now what I'm going to do is that yeah, on click is left. So on click send to Android. Yeah, now it's completed. Now let's just run this. Okay, so let's just enter something. Hello, developers monk, and press the send button. And here we got hello developers monk. So now this is from JavaScript to Android. Now the next thing is transferring data from Android to JavaScript. Okay, so for that we have to firstly add a click listener to this send button, which is btn send. Okay, so for that I'm going to create another function which is going to be load interactions. Usually I create this function named load interactions, and whichever interactions are there in that particular activity, I add those interactions inside this function. So it's just like it's always good if you follow few practices. Okay. Now the next thing is btn send dot set on click listener. Yeah. And now inside this, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to call WebView dot load URL. So now, if you are into web development already, you might have already be familiar with that. To call a JavaScript function from a URL, you have to write JavaScript colon name of the function, and that's it. That particular function will be called through URL. Okay, let me show you this in Chrome. Let's say I want to open an alert box. So what I'll write here is JavaScript colon alert hello developers monk, and when I press enter, here we got hello developers monk. Okay, so basically we could call any function here. So for that, obviously we'll need a function here. So I'm going to add a function here and name it data from Android. And inside this, let there be a variable str, which we will pass from Android. And now what we have to do with this str, we have to set this as inner HTML of this particular paragraph element, which is text from Android. So again, document dot get element by id dot inner html is str, and that's it. Now we just have to call this particular function from Android. So it's quite straightforward actually. So now we have to add double quotation here, so for that we have to escape that. Okay, and now I'm going to add this string concatenation, and inside this we are going to pass what is the whatever the user have entered inside this edit text, which is et data to js. Its name is et2js get text dot toString. And yeah, that's done. Now whenever we click this button, this particular data which is inside this et2js is going to get passed to data from Android function. And when this function is called with any data, then this text from Android paragraph, which is this particular thing, it's in our HTML, is going to take that particular value. Now let's just run this and see. So it was already working, but we'll just check it again. Yeah, hey. Now, hey. And here we got hey developers monk. So now we got a two-way communication. Now we are going to, we have successfully sent data to and from JavaScript and Android. Now the next thing, as we already planned, is sending image from JavaScript and Android, or basically sending image between them. So for that, what I'm going to do is, let's just, so basically I want to tell you that how you could create, how you could actually open another activity and then send the results back to JavaScript. So for that, instead of simply sending image from Android to JavaScript, what I'm going to do is, let's just remove all this and rename this to, okay, I'm just gonna add an image here, img, source is going to be empty, style I'll have to add, which is height is 300 pixels as of now, width also 300 pixels as of now. Yeah, that's it, I guess. Yeah, and id is left. Idea gave it image placeholder. Okay, that's temporary, you could give anything. And other than that, we just need a button. Oh, I deleted the button. I'll just recreate another button. On click, we'll set a function here, and inside this button I'll just write select image. Okay, so what I'm planning is that when the select image button is clicked, then we'll start an intent in Android native, to select an image from Android's storage, and when that image is selected, we'll send that particular image as a result to JavaScript, and then that particular image will be loaded back in this image. Okay, so select image be the function, and we are going to call this function when this button is clicked. Okay, now the next thing is that currently Android bridge dot send data to Android was being called. Now we are going to call Android bridge dot select image. Obviously this function is not yet declared, so we'll declare this function. We won't be passing any variable here. Okay, and another function which we'll be needing for getting the results back is going to be image returned, and inside this we are going to obviously have a variable because we do want to get something in return, and that's, let's say it's data, or let's say it's image. So this is going to be basically a base 64 image because I'm going to encode everything in base 64. Okay, before sending it here. So let's say we got this as base 64. Now the next thing which we have to do is document.get element by id, passing the id, dot src is going to be, sorry, image. Okay, so now this is everything is done from this HTML side. Now everything is to be done from Android side. So the first thing is that we have to change this. We no more need send data to Android. Instead what we planned of uh, select image. Okay, without any parameter. So here we got. Now again we have to change it here. Select image without any parameter. Yeah, yeah. So now everything is done. And the next thing is we do not need to find this. Okay. Yeah. So now when this particular select image is called, what we need is we'll fire this intent dot action open document, and we'll set the type as image. I won't explicitly set the extension, and we'll just start the activity for result intent, and let's hard code this value as of now, request code 255. Although it's always a good option to have it up here as a final variable. Anyways, now adding on activity result, overriding basically, and checking if request code is 255. Now if result code is result okay, which means that okay, it is selected, and just also checking if data not equals to null. If this is the case, then we got the URI, else we are just gonna log that no image was selected. Okay, and inside this it's quite straightforward. URI is data dot get data, and now what we want is get content resolver dot open input stream and pass on the URI. So we got an input stream. Again, as we okay, we have to cover this with try catch. Again, we are going to log if there is any error opening image, and pass on this exception. Okay, and inside this now again we are going to do the same thing, byte array output stream and stuff. So byte array output stream is new, byte array output stream, and while what we say, input stream dot available is greater than 0, just do output stream dot write input stream dot read. Okay, and when this is done, we already have all the bytes inside this byte array output stream, and we could get the array through byte array dot to byte array. Okay, now the next thing is base 64, right? So there is already a class inside Android, base 64 dot encode to string. Okay, we have to encode this particular thing to string. Okay, data, and we have to pass in the array, byte array, and we have to set the flags. So actually these flags are base 64 dot default, that this is default only. Okay, so what's the error? Yeah, that's quite good. Okay, data is okay. Yeah, data is already defined, so we'll just say img image data. Okay, now the next thing is that usually, or basically every time, this base 64 is having data and type of data, which is image. I won't explicitly set the extension again, and semicolon and base 64 comma, and now the whole base 64 thing. Okay, So I've added this. Now it's the complete base64 thing which we have to pass to JavaScript's image return function. So for that, it's again straightforward. WebView dot load URL JavaScript, and what was that? Oh god, yeah, image return. And now for double quotations, we have to escape them, and inside these we want image data. And yeah, everything is done, and now it should probably work as we expect it to work. So now let's just test it. I hope I have image in this emulator. Okay, so select image, and yeah, I was working on some ML kit thing, machine learning thing for pose detection. That's why these yoga poses are there. And I'm going to select this car, and yeah, it works fine. We got the car inside JavaScript, and this was just a very simple example of how we could send data to and from. And also, as you could see that I fired an intent. So although this particular intent was to select an image, but more or less any kind of intent could be passed, and you could do any single thing with this particular idea or with this particular thing. So just go and freely use this particular thing, and also tell me how this video was, you liked it or not. And please do like, share and subscribe, because when you subscribe and like my channel, no, it gives me motivation that okay, I have to create more content like this. And actually I have a list of content already prepared, that okay, I have to create all these content which I have in my mind, and I'm just waiting for your responses, that what kind of response I get. So please do not forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.